Hello, everyone. Karen Glasser here, and welcome to Karen Glasser Live. Make sure you say hi in the comments and tell us where you are watching from. Today, we are talking with the amazing Nicole Holland. For the past 4 decades, she has helped people move through their greatest fears, transcend doubt, and live their most authentic, joy filled lives. She's counseled countless individuals of all ages and walks of life and are talking about how to align with a higher power in your life so that you can live day by day with a greater sense of peace and happiness. So, without further ado, I bring Nicole into the show. Hey, Nicole, welcome.
Thank you, Karen. I'm so excited to be with you.
I am excited as well. I am especially excited because in this world that we're living in right now, these are the conversations that are so important to be had. And so, I always like to start my shows out with my guests is talking about your journey. How did you get to where you are right now? You don't have to give me, like 4 years old, I did this, but how did you get here? What led you to today?
I'm 47, so close to 48. So there's a lot of days that led me here. But you know, I I went through a death experience last year in 2022,
Mhm.
and you and I had connected back in 2016 through business. We became friends and colleagues, and you just became a really special person in my life. And when I found out about a year ago, just over a year ago, I was given, 3 months to live, that prognosis. You're one of the few people who I actually shared that with. I don't even know if I told you at the time what that prognosis was, or I just told you I had the tumor. But
Yes,
I kept
you
it.
did. You did.
Yeah, you were one of the very few people, like 3 people, 4 people that I actually spoke with about it,
Mhm.
as I was kind of wrapping my head around that before I really, went through the processing of it.
Mhm.
So I really, a year ago didn't expect to be here today.
Right.
And life has been wild these last 12 months, to say the least. And what was a death sentence, it no longer is. The tumor was taken out, and like I literally regenerated, and it's been a wild, crazy ride since. And your invitation to open up this conversation means the world to me, because people I've known throughout my life haven't known me, as a spiritual leader per se, but I've always led with my own understanding of God
Right.
and consciousness and spirituality without realizing that's what it is. So,
Right. Right.
today, here I am on the other side kind of figuring out, how do I start anew in the world with everything being possible, because I've done so many things and worked with so many different people, and I love it all. So now it's like just figuring out how to be
And how to
rather
make
than
it
do.
through. And I think that's why I resonate with what you talk about. My past, I'm a retired clergywoman, a cantor for 16 years. And I always was in my space of spirituality and expressing that. So I'm fascinated. And I think that's really what connects me is our it's the of likeness of this. Um, so you talk about elevating consciousness. I mean, can you give me a textbook definition or an actual experiential definition? What would that mean?
Yeah, let's do the experiential, because I never concern myself much with what the textbooks say unless it's something I need to look up for my own
Mhm.
clarification.
Right.
But those are changing all the time, right?
They
And
are.
it's funny because even terms like podcast guesting, when
Right.
2016 didn't exist or 2015 didn't exist, I started using it. And now it's like, so terms are always evolving and changing
Right.
as per the popular market. Um, Anyways, we can go into that a different time. But so I had my first, that I can think of, my first like kind of big vision, if you will, when I was about 8 years old. And we were in DC, and I learned what a homeless person was. And I learned how they got there, and kind of I learned concepts, and I had this vision of a collaborative, development and living stuff. And anyways,
Right.
so that was like my first kind of big picture vision that I can think of, which I didn't have the language at that time. I'm here to,
Elevate consciousness, right,
eradicate poverty, was actually the piece of that, right? But I understood through my life. So I saw poverty from the frame that I saw it, and
right,
I went, oh, here's a solution. I saw the solution. And over my lifetime, over the decades following, I worked in all sorts of different areas that helped me understand not only how people in impoverished environments operate, but how they got there and how to get them out and look at different solutions and things
right.
like that and exploring all kinds of stuff. So so eradicating poverty has always been at the core, even if I've never led with that really as far as a
Got it.
business, because what kind of business does that, right? That's been something always like this on my heart, this messaging and stuff like that. So the elevate consciousness came to me in 2021. It was in August, and I was preparing for a summit called the Mindset Mastery for Business Leaders Summit. And I had had this vision for quite some time. And it really was about teaching consciousness. I mean, I got my transformational life coaching cert back in, 20 years ago. I was in school for this coaching thing. I was one of the first cohorts that went through this accredited college, which was on the leading edge. Like nobody had even heard of this,
Right.
nonsense. So so I've been doing the work in different ways my entire life, but the terminology elevating consciousness was never my language. I just never really resonated with that woo woo ness of it,
Yeah,
I guess. So I'm doing this summit, and literally everything that could go wrong was going wrong from a production standpoint. And I had wonderful friends like Gay Hendricks and John Assaraf, like really highly conscious
right.
humans, to share their wisdom with an audience, and it was an absolute like bust. Like it was nothing I could do would make it work. Well, I'm standing there, and it's like just days before, or not days before, but yeah, I guess like a couple weeks before it's supposed to go live. And I just was in the kitchen, and I had this, like, for lack of a better term, download, right? Like this visceral experience of like stuckness. Like I've never had this sort of feeling before. But it
Yeah,
was almost like I was like this magnet kind of holding me in place with I didn't hear any voices or anything, but just this sense of like, you are here to elevate consciousness. And I
right.
was like, that's
Hmm,
really weird. And so I was like, whatever. So I keep going on, and I kind of like felt kind of again like stuck in place, and it was that same sense. And I was like, okay, there's post-it notes there. I grabbed my post-it note and I wrote it down, and it was sort of like my hand was moving faster than I could. Everything was kind of like it was really weird. So it was really messy. So I crumbled that up and threw it away. I wrote it again. I wrote it the third time. It was nice and neat. I put it on the fridge, and it was like all of a sudden I was kind of released. And I was like, that was the weirdest thing.
wow.
As it turns out, my father was going through his release of attachment from his physical form at that time. So
Oh,
that was the day my dad died, but I did not know
very
that
happy
until
days.
5 days later. My father and I were estranged, and yeah, he had taken on a lot of things in his life he that kept him
Right.
not being happy and healthy and all the things. And so apparently as he released his attachment, that's what came through.
Floating.
And
Yeah.
so
Wow.
that since then, that was August of 2021. I mean, things have just gotten weirder and weirder and weirder in terms of my relationship with my father in heaven, which
Right.
now, like, God, right? So I understand differently things that I never noticed before, like
Right.
that kind of terminology, because I'm not a Christian. And so the Christians, there's certain belief systems. And
Right.
anyways, so I went through this wild experience as my father released attachment. That was sort of this message that downloaded. And
The
yeah,
rest.
since then, since then, it's just been evolving.
So, I mean, that just kind of segues into you're talking about aligning yourself, with a higher power. It might be God, it might be Buddha, and whoever your that higher power is,
Mother Nature.
Mother Nature. It doesn't have to be a religion thing. I mean, it's whoever that higher power. So when you say that, I mean, what does a higher power actually mean? Is it somebody bigger than us, or a thing that's bigger? What is a higher power?
Yeah, I mean, and that is it. Everybody's going to have their own beliefs about it. But what I think is happening and has been happening over these past decades, especially as people have been moving themselves away from the religious dogma and constraints and into a more evolved understanding of who they are and how they operate as humans. So I use the term God because it's comfortable for me. It's familiar to me. I know a lot of people have triggers, and so whatever works for you, you can replace
Right,
it. But for me, it's just easy
right,
to say God. Um, so I don't envision God as being like a human being. It's energy. It
right.
is. It's at the beginning. In the beginning, there was the word, and the word was good. I guess God.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
it's just all that is. In so many different belief systems, there's different language for it, and
right,
nothing really matters because we all we as human beings come into the world of form from spirit. There's just no argument to that. I mean, we have the biological and physiological aspects, but at the end of the day, you take the seed of a man, implant into the womb of the woman,
right.
and
Right,
fertilize egg, whatever, like the things that need to happen. There's the gestational period, and then the baby, this new physical manifestation of God, all that is spirit, energy, desire, love, physical form, all the hopes and dreams of the masculine, that
yeah,
and the energetically of the masculine and the feminine, with the force of the quote Holy Spirit, God, creator, whatever you want to call it. But there's something that goes beyond science, that goes beyond what we can explain in tangible form or in a tangible way. There's that third party
right.
inside each and every human being.
I like to
And
call
I see that as God. I wrote an essay on it called You Are God recently. Pardon?
I tend to call it godliness, is to have the traits of godliness. For me personally, I look at it's a higher power. And when we grew up, when we were younger, we grew up and we were. I don't think intentionally we were taught this, but it was like this man sitting on a big chair up there somewhere with
Cloud.
a crown, right? And that was God. First of all, it was a he, right? It was a he, and then it became, and then it was like the woman's lib was no, it's not a he, it's whoever, it might be a she, right? And then you realize as you get older, it's not a he or a she, it's not even a
The
physical
whole.
thing, right? And that's where I think I kind of landed on the spirit of godliness. They are traits, and for me specifically, they are traits. I don't know how you feel about that. Is
Yeah, I
that
love it. I think that's great. Yeah, I mean, it's the whole. God is whole, right? So if you look at yin, yang, any
right?
sort of balancing, there's the masculine, the feminine. We are complete in and of ourselves.
Right,
And when we come into the world of form, we are perfection personified. We are the physical manifestation of source, right? In physical form.
right, right,
And as we leave the world, we go back to non-physical. We go
right.
back to source energy. Everybody, I mean, I don't know about everybody, but I think most people can agree that there is something known as a soul. There's energy, there's
Yeah.
spirit, there's something
In
that lives
Hebrew,
on
neshama.
beyond.
Yeah, in Hebrew, it's neshama. It's a soul. It is. It's
Yeah, and
part of
it lives
the.
on beyond. It
Yeah,
came before and it goes after. So like your your family history, there's those. They lived in the real world in different
right,
times where you didn't walk the earth and you weren't even thought of. So you
right,
carry their energy, that the best of all that is, the good, the
right,
God, the whatever you want to call it, is
right,
within each and every one of us. And so as we go through our physical life and we are these brilliant little babies wanting to explore the world and
right,
have experiences, we're contained by fear, by, whatever protection. Not that that's a bad thing, but we have to be
Right.
raised up. But the thing is, most parents don't realize is that the child is the teacher, and the child is the gift from God that is there to
Right.
guide them to check themselves, right? So when you look at the baby as this sort of barometer for, here you go, here, you say this is all you want, you say this is the vision you have for the world, you say, here you go, now prove it. And so what
Right.
happens a lot of times is people get these beautiful little babies, and then they go, oh, wonderful, but for this, but for that, now I'm tired,
Right.
now I'm this
Right.
because of my kid, da, 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 da. And so they start getting into these patterns of behavior that is really, man driven, human driven.
Human.
So then we're living in this, in this physical world, being raised up by humans who are actually pulling us
Pulling
down
us
in
down.
containment. So there's this constant
Right.
dynamicism going on throughout life.
Right. If you're tuning in right now, we're talking with Nicole Holland about how to align with a higher power, whatever that looks like to you in your life, so that you can actually live your day to day with a greater sense of peace and happiness. So let's just, for argument's sake, somebody comes to you and they want to align. They want to learn how to do this. How would you help navigate that with them?
Yeah, thank you for asking. It's the answer is 100% frustrating because it depends. You have to, every single human being is different, and at every moment of every day, what's on their mind. So what is sort of playing out whatever script is going on, right? Whatever the lenses are they're looking through to play out the script is going to change from moment to moment and day to day.
Right.
So whatever somebody is contemplating, struggling with, going through, whatever the case may be, in the moment that they recognize, I feel out of alignment. I don't know what that means,
Got
but
it.
I want to. That's the
Yeah.
time to have a conversation. Or
Right.
when
Right.
they go, I'm out of alignment. I know what that means because I've been here before. Let me go into some skills that I've learned to get myself back into alignment. That's a step, right?
Got it.
Or I've I feel out of alignment. I have done some tools. I still feel like I'd like some more growth.
Right.
How do I want to do that? Do I want the universe to teach me, God, whatever? Or do I want to find a faster, easier way and have a quantum experience? And that's where somebody like me comes in. And so, the as shitty as it is for me to say, like, the best way for anybody listening who wants to know what the experience is like, or where I would start with you from if you wanted to come into living more in alignment,
Right.
ask me. Like, there's a, like, come ask me, like, all day, every day. I am happy to help people know these things, because that's like all I have now is truth to teach.
And I
But
love
hard
I
to
love
say on the video, right? It's hard to
that.
be like, well, here's the answer, because everybody wants that. You want
Right.
to be sold some answer, but every single human being has lived every single moment of their own life, and there
Right.
is no one answer that's going to get anybody that and believing that there is the road to
Right.
disillusionment, a very
Right.
fast path to disillusionment.
So I put up a QR code here. If somebody wants, whether you're here live right now, we have some people on live, or you're on replay. If you scan this QR code, go over and talk to Nicole. I mean, what will happen when they call when they do this? They're going to fill out a form. What they're actually going to listen to a video that's on that page, and they can respond. Right? They can actually respond right there, either through a video on their own. They can text you. They can talk to you. So what we're telling you all out here is that if this is intriguing you, like it has intrigued me, why don't you take the next step and reach out and talk to Nicole and find out from a more personal standpoint how this might affect you in your life and how it might guide you in a better way. You've talked already about that you went through your death experience last year and what God conveyed to you. You say that the greatest gift from God was the ability for you to translate truth, and that because of that, you cannot adapt to lies for long because it takes a toll on your system. What does that mean?
Yeah, I mean, it means that, like, I am so sensitive now, and we talk about sensitive people as if there's something wrong with them, I'm like, this fairly recent term, neurodivergence. They're talking about kids being neurodivergent. You know what? Kids are kids, and sorry for this light being really weird, it's, the time of day.
Well, by the way, if you're wondering, Nicole's in her. She's an art. And how do you explain?
Yeah, sure.
She's on the road chat. She's on a van. She's in a van, and this is where she lives. I love what you do. I'm so jealous, and one of these days I might actually do this. But you're out and about, and that's why you have the different light. You're on the East Coast, so I'm not bothered by it. We can hear you loud and clear. So keep going.
Awesome. Yeah, and I loved coming out and visiting you out west a couple winters
Oh, I
ago, that
loved
was
it.
so
Yeah,
nice.
it was fun.
Um, yes, so what was I just saying? I just lost my, I lost me the
You were
question.
explaining a little bit better in terms of how, from God, He's given you the ability to translate truth. And because of that,
The
you can't.
disconnect.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, yeah, it's just it's hard to put to words. It's what I have found is that, because this is all new to me, right? I mean,
Right.
this is totally new, and so I've been in environments where essentially, like, these superpowers come out. Like, the most direct superpower I have, and I've always had, but I didn't realize it was a superpower until after the death experience, is this ability to hear and speak truth.
Ah,
So I've always been kind of like a human truth detector, but now that I understand it, like, randomly, it's not even random. Like, I understand it now. It's wild. And people who are with me who understand what's going on, they're like, "Holy shit." So people will just, like, strangers sometimes will just come up and tell me, like, their deepest, darkest secrets. Just
wow.
matter of fact, just walk up to me. I've had people, like I've had people just, like, I'm thinking of a time I was, like, in a line to fill up, like, a big water jug,
Yeah.
and, I was waiting for the kid, and this he just, like, turns around and, like, puts his hand out, and he goes, "You want some quarters?" He had, like, this whole handful of quarters. I'm
Oh,
like, "I'm good,
wow.
thanks." And he's like, "Well, I don't know what to do with them. You can have them." And I'm like, "I'm good, but maybe you can put them in your pocket and save it for next time you need to fill your water." And he's like, yeah. I
Oh,
mean,
yeah.
it's so interesting. Like, I mean, there's been these experiences with strangers like that, just random things. And also, not that long ago, somebody who I connected with 8 years ago who's, a celebrity who's very well known and contacted me out of the blue and was like, "Hey," and started sharing some things with me. And it turns out he came out to me, and he's had these feelings for 14 years. And I was the first person he ever spoke with about, having feelings for men. And throughout that
Wow.
interaction, we set it up so that he could accept an invitation to dinner, and he went on his first date. And it was amazing to be able to, like, be in that space of holding space. And so that's always been like, it's always, but now I understand it differently.
Right.
um
Powerful.
so
That,
that's neat. Yeah,
that,
that's neat. And then also being able to, like, forever, people have always commented about my intuitive gifts and my ability to, like, speak about, like, but I've never really understood it. Like, I'm not a mind reader. It's just I literally just speak truth,
right.
as far as I don't know how to speak something else. I can't lie. I
Right.
can act. There's a difference. So I have come to realize, because it used to be like, I can't lie, I can't tell a non-truth. Like, these are the
Right.
principles that I lived my life from, which
Right.
I understand now are biblical principles, but they didn't come to me through learning
Right.
the Bible or any religion or whatever. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's like, so yeah, there's some really cool, like, physical things that have happened. So people have had crazy experiences with me, and a lot of it is just it's just energetics, and
Yeah.
it's wild and
Yeah.
beautiful. And what I understand is that I'm able to help people as long as they are pure of heart in their desires. So if they are looking to get ahead by abusing or using others,
They won't work with you.
I cannot, well, it's not even like I cannot not call them out.
Right.
And I will say things, and it's not that I'm, like, trying to hurt people's feelings, but it's because it's all I can do, you know? So I've gone through as I was going through the death experience and stuff, I just couldn't I had no more time for bullshit.
Right.
And some people who I loved, like, absolutely loved and have poured into and spent years investing in as far as, like, just love and attention and, you know, friendship and professional, like, relationships, um and I said to this one person something to the effect of, you know, "Your arrogance is gonna kill you." And he was so offended, and I'm like I
Hey.
kind of was a little surprised that he was offended because, like, I didn't feel like I was behaving any differently than I've behaved in the past,
Right.
but when I look at my behavior over the past couple of years, I've just you know, I'm able to get the broader perspective, which is that I was closer to death. And the
Right.
closer you are to the end, not that you necessarily know. And if you look at, if you have any understanding of suicide and patterns of behavior and people that go through addiction issues and things like this as well, the there's patterns. And the more the for lack of a better term, the closer to death one is, the less they filter. And as I'm saying this, I remember too, like I was exposed to death early on in my life. My little brother got cancer the week before I turned 11. So our family had gotten involved with the Camp for Kids with Cancer. And so I grew up, you know, as 11, 12, 13, 14 years old, watching my friends die, understanding hospice, like being there to, you know, I would spend time in hospitals, I'd spend time at home, like saying goodbye to my friends as they were preparing to
Wow.
transition.
Wow.
And like, yeah, and learning to hold the space for their parents and for others. And I never realized that there was anything weird about that. It was just like natural for me.
Right.
So I think that probably, you know, that early programming of being able to understand
Right.
the very subtle, sensitive nature of processing was important. And so, yeah, I think before I was saying something about sensitive people, the more sensitive we are, we're seen as like, ooh, that's bad. Or we get on this thing where it's like, oh, my sensitivity, I'm going to own that. And if you're not going to listen to my sensitivity and respect my sensitivity, then F you. Like,
Yeah.
come on, get
Yeah.
over it.
Now,
When
go ahead. Finish.
yeah, when we see our sensitivities as actually gifts of information opposed
Right.
to um condemnments or containments or anything like that, we
Right.
get to navigate the world differently, right? Like I know um, if if I start feeling a physical repulsion, like I'm gonna throw up, I know there's a problem. And
Right.
I like I said, you know, I checked out the mental stuff. I actually just had another I had a physical like 2 weeks ago and I just got like everything's good. Like everything. I mean, it's not even like good for somebody who 6 months ago was on death's doorstep, but
Right.
it's like good for
Wow.
anybody at my age.
Wow. Well, first of all, I
You can't even see the scar anymore. It's
am so
crazy.
thrilled. I'm so thrilled to hear that. You wrote a book, right? You wrote a book. I'm going to put the book up for a second. It's called Divine Wisdoms, Essays, Poems, and Practical Advice for Living a Self Actualized Existence. Tell us about the book, and we're going to tell people how they can pick up a copy.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for asking, and for putting that up there. I love that picture on the cover so much. It was a photographer who, as I was, you know, getting rid of everything to go in my minimalist living
Right.
situation and get on the road, um, I had a photo shoot with photographer who took some pictures of me going through my grandfather's diary from World War II and some old pictures and things. So there's so much power in that picture. And Divine Wisdom is literally just a selection of some essays and poems and things. I could write an entire book every single day if given a topic of deep interest, and inquiry. And so for me, sitting down to write something is like, so the process was really like going through some stuff that I had written that and just kind of pulling it together to put it in a concrete place to share with people. Um, so it's a jumping off point. I feel like it's only on Kindle right now because I already want to like completely change it for the paperback. Um,
Fine
it's a
Kindle.
jumping off point because at the end of the day, I want to have a personal experience with people.
Right.
And divine wisdom for me is the ability to translate truth for others in partnership with others. So whether that looks like business or life, whether it's parenting, I've had 13 foster kids, right? I was a professional parent after already having worked in crisis support and different environments with youth. I was in education, like just so many different things. So divine wisdom is just like these kind of essays and thoughts that just kind of stream
And
through me and I put down and
people can pick it up, just scan the QR
yeah,
code. It's on Kindle right now,
yeah.
and it's free. So if you happen to have a Kindle subscription, you're going to get it for free. We would love to hear what you think, and if you love it as much as I know you're going to love it, write a review on Amazon for Nicole. I know it would mean a lot to her and it mean a lot to me as well. But go check out the book. I think that this is something that they need to do. Absolutely need to do.
Thank
I want to make sure people know how they can get in touch with you and how they can follow you. So get ready for a bunch of links that I'm going to start throwing up. Nicole, you're everywhere. You're on LinkedIn at Nicole Holland. You are on Instagram, and I'm not even going to try to pronounce this.
Unbegrenzt. I am unbegrenzt.
I am unconvinced. Yes, yes, you are.
Boundless.
And on Instagram, and you're also as well that on Facebook.
Yeah.
And they can check you out on your website, Growth Seekers Welcome. What are they going to find on your website?
Yeah, so Growth Seekers Welcome right now is just directing to my Substack blog, which you can just, you'll be prompted to put in your email address. And if you want to put in your email address, awesome. That just means you'll get, every time I write a new blog, I'll put, you'll get it. Um, Honestly, like we were talking before, I mean, I'm just starting over,
Right.
so it's like I'm at the beginning of what I'm doing opposed to deep into the middle of it. I've already done all the things that I've ever wanted to do. I already lived a no regrets life and I already came to the end of that. I already out processed, the life that I had lived and gave up everything that I've ever had. And so now on the other side of it, it's like, okay, I'm learning how to start over in that there's no rush because for me I've already fulfilled my life's purpose. Like I've already done it. So there's for me it's like every day is a new day and a day for fun and a day for joy and a day for partnership. And I spent the first 47 years of my life doing it alone and navigating circumstances and like figuring out the puzzles of life, and I've loved it. I've loved it. And so now it's like, okay, now I've got the wisdom, now I've got the stories, now I've got all kinds of stuff, and I'd love to play in this space and that space. I'd love to do some of this, some of that. Just,
The
the world
world
is a
The world
playground.
is your oyster. The world is
Yeah.
your oyster, as the expression says. And I'm happy on so many levels for you. I'm happy, first of all, that you survived and that didn't just survive, you are thriving. And I want to congratulate you on starting anew. It's like a rebirth. I want to congratulate you on your book. How exciting. And I do hope I'm going to put it back one more time. I hope people check it out. Um, I actually ordered it. It's on my Kindle, and I will be making a review. And if you would like to take this conversation farther, just click on the take a QR code on this, take a picture of it. It'll take you right over to talk with Nicole. And when they get there, they're going to see a video. They're going to be able to respond to you either with a video or with text, and however they want to communicate. And you guys will start that conversation. Nicole, any last thoughts? I mean, we've been talking about a lot of different things, and we probably need multiple conversations about this. Any last thoughts, though, for our viewers as we say goodbye that you want to make sure that I don't miss?
Just thank you. Thank you for listening. And it really is um if if you have anything like anything that is an inspired thought in you, or an inspired, like, ooh, I should pay attention to this, or I should pay attention to that. Pay attention, because that's how your higher power speaks to you. It's oftentimes we're taught, like, oh, power through this or do that, because that's what keeps the machine operating. But
Right.
what keeps your machine operating is understanding your machine that you're operating. And so you need to get the sleep. You need to get the care. You need to also give. You need to know where you're putting your attention and put it
Right.
on the things that come back to you, and really consider what matters most, because one day it will be over. And if you are going through your life not thinking about that because it's too big or complex or uncomfortable to think about, you can do that. And one day, somebody's going to have to deal with the repercussions of that. And
Right.
so, keeping that in mind, that I think is the most important thing, more than anything, for people who have children, because, and the birth rate has been getting lower and lower, right? And there's a lot of reason for that. And
Right.
there, having a children in the world at any time, but especially now at this time,
Right.
is such a profound responsibility.
Yeah.
And so we are, even if we don't have children, what we do today will
Right.
affect the children of the children who are children right now, and their children for generations to come. And so we're in a time where there are not many of us left who were raised with critical thinking, who were raised to understand how to develop systems without being the systems operating you, right? So we have just we're in this beautiful time space and so much opportunity to really impact generations to come. And it's an incredible time. So if you are not having deep thoughts and having deep conversations and looking at what's good in your life and in the world, please do contact me and we'll have a personal conversation, because that's what I'm here to help with.
Please do that. She knows what she's talking about. And if not now, when would you do it? So do it now, as a very famous philosopher said. If not now, when? Do it now. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you for coming on today. Thank you for being vulnerable. Thank you for sharing your spirituality, your who you are, the essence of who you are. I'm deeply appreciative. I hope you'll come back on and continue the conversation. And to all of you who are watching, whether it's live or on replay, we appreciate you. You have a choice as to where you spend your time. You chose to spend it with Nicole and I today, and we are eternally grateful. Go out, give somebody an awesome day, and we'll see you next time on Caren Glasser Live. Bye, everybody.